So we have Shashi Maharaj claiming the newborn Shantila days after Shantila's birth in December 1921. Villas of Chancellor Shashi Maharaj visited, held in for an exchange head for head. Other one came back. Please give me this one instead. Immediately and willingly surrender ownership of newborn son. 6 year old would not break his Ekadashi fast. 6 years old, the family invited to dinner at Rajnagar. Day of Ekadashi, no special fasting. Food had been cooked, so pressed to sit and eat with everyone else. But he was unable to break his fast, so then he began to cry, and then so he said, "Let me do Ekadashi." And then so small incident, but it resembles the extraordinary spiritual temperament of a child who, even at the age of 6, refused to compromise his religious vows. Ask Shashi Maharaj for God, seeing Shashi Maharaj Jodi his wooden sandals. He said, "In your Jodi you have God, so give that to me." And so it was incredibly direct, and the depth of his request showed and stunned those that were present there. Shantila, the sixth grade, went to grab cricket equipment planning for the village. Messenger carrying a letter from Shashi Maharaj instructed to immediately leave whatever he was doing and to become a sadhu. And so he received his parents' blessing. They said to go become a good sadhu, do as Swami pleases says, and please him never think about coming, returning it home. And so when he goes to John Sadhu cycling away, he suddenly remembers that he left behind his daily puja item. So then he went back. Why have you come back? Says his mother, but he has forgotten his puja. That is why he has returned. Chapter 2 is all about Titiksha, so he suffers this fever alone in India, then tethered. And Shantila has this long, arduous journey through multiple villages to meet Shashi Maharaj. So during the journey, he fell ill with a fever and Nardia. So the soldiers accompanying him left each morning on business and returned only in the evenings, leaving the feverish teenager all alone all day with only just a little bit of food. Shashi Maharaj then heals Shantila and initiates him as Padishad. So finally reaches Shashi Maharaj, still feverish, stroked his entire body, all hitting, so your fever will now subside. Fever broke entirely. Next morning, Ekadash day, initiate Shanti Lal Parshad, novice renunciate, giving him the name of Shanti Bhagat. Midnight decision to give up English, accept full initiation. Wanted to give Shanti Bhagat full initiation, but he held back until he let go of his desires to study English. And so he talked to him. And so discussion lasted way past 1:30 a.m. Said, "Okay, I will study Sanskrit, take initiation." And so woke Sashimaji immediately with the good news that he will be studying Sanskrit instead of English. Blister's construction work at Alladra Mandir Narayan so he assigned to the work of churning lime. So he worked diligently, even though there were burning blisters, red blisters. And so when Shashimata stroked his entire body, he said, "Yeah, you'll be well soon." And so those entire blisters, they completely disappeared. Only a faint red stain remained at the top tip of his toe. And so he didn't feel sorry for himself. He immediately rejoined in the construction work as soon as he recovered. You have this entire midnight journey through the flooded roads to Saharanpur. So he was suffering from a very incredibly, very dire illness. And so he immediately left as soon as he heard that Shashi Maharaj was suffering from this illness. He ended up hanging outside a train car through rain and darkness for 100 kilometers. And so he had to walk 13 kilometers through waist-deep rushing streams, collapsing mud roads. And then he finally met Shashi Maharaj, and his guru cried in surprise joy, hugged him warmly, put my mind at peace. A letter declaring his trust. So it was only 25 years old, but wrote a remarkable letter, with great intimacy. So he says the body cannot be dependent now. Live most at least 2 or 4 years, and then he says that to this young man, 25 years old, he will disclose the vision of the organization. But he will be the one who will put my mind at peace. Silence his doubt with "I look to his soul." So when Shashi Maharaj announced in 1950, he will appoint the young and junior, only 25 years old, as president of VPS. Some senior sadhus are concerned that why are you entrusting the responsibility of the entire organization to this junior sadhu? But he says that let's hope there never comes a time of remorse. Quiet confidence that he says that Mugham have done many things, but I once and never had to regret any decision. You look towards his body, you see the age, but he actually looked towards his soul, and his soul has had a high spiritual elevated state since before even birth. Reluctance and acceptance as presidency, so was very unwilling to accept the position of president. He was junior to many sadhus, devoted, who had to sacrifice far more And in his humility, he saw the other sadhus as better equipped to leave. But Shashimash was he was determined that he should be the next president of BAPS. And so Narayan thus understood that it was truly his Guru's innermost wish, and only because it was his wish that he accepted the position. The formal appointment at Ceremony Amdi Wadi Board in 1921 May 1950. President of Yogi Maharaj Senior Sadhus says from this day onwards, I appoint in my place Pramukh as the Guru, as the president of BAPS. Incident 5, vision of the two sons merging into one and so on. So the prescribed mystical experience had gone on wonder or Chachi arrived, ran to find him, entered sanctum, saw the marble image of Gansha Maharaj sitting up on the sukshay. Asked the Murti where Shashi Maharaj was, and the Murti answered that he had gone downstairs. And so after searching without finding him, he returned upstairs, and there he beheld Shashi Maharaj standing before the Murti of Ghanshyam Maharaj. So the two merged into one vision, replaced by radiant light. So that was the divine vision that had occurred. Yogini Maharaj has not left us. So in 23/19 Jan 1971, Yogini passed away in a room. PSM said directly assumed command, broke the hideous spell of collective paralysis, made phone calls, consoled everyone, and reassured everyone that the Guruship will continue to remain on the earth. Publicly declares that Yogini Maharaj has not left us. We'll go over a few V's now. So Loya 5 about controlling the Indriyas. How do you recognize someone who is deceitful when they don't disclose any of the following? So they don't disclose any of the faults that they may have seen in the son, they may any doubts that they may have, or any if there are any other weaknesses that they have in observing the five religious vows. They don't disclose any of that. And there's different means to control Indriyas and Antakaran. Right? And all three of these are needed together in order to control the Indriyas and Antakaran. You cannot have each of one of these on its own. So you need the Shastras, you need the Sant, you need one's own thought process. So the Shastras are there to help one realize the glory of God and the Sant. The Sant is there to make sure one learns the techniques for controlling the Indriyas, and then one's own thought process is there. So because one can look upon the Sant's techniques positively and understand the purpose for which he is actually learning from the Sant. And so what controls which? It is the physical Indriyas that cannot be controlled by controlling the Antakara. No, but the Antakara can be controlled by controlling the physical Indriyas. And now we have means to control the physical indriyas. We have means to control the antakaran. So the means to control the physical indriyas are vast. Right? Engaging in worship, remembrance, controlling posture, engaging in discourses, and engaging in devotional songs related to God, deliberately tolerating cold heat, hunger, thirst, antakaran controlled by contemplating glory of God, meditating on God, realizing oneself to be Atma. The most difficult achievement is to become econic, to do that, but we have got along with the Dharma. Vairagya, the one key and endeavor in each category that are related to maintaining the vow of non-loss, God related, keep conviction in God, and so one should always avoid the company of one who has faith in God, but says that he believes himself to be the body. Will perceive flaws in God if he believes himself to be the body. So avoid the company of someone who believes themselves to be the body, even though they may have faith in God, they may observe dharma, but they believe themselves to be the body. And so one who does associate with him will perceive flaws in God and his son, no doubt. And also avoid the sadhu who says all these discouraging things that can this vow of non-lust truly be accomplished and realized? Its only liberation is only attained after countless lives. How can it be attained today and in this life? So those are some discouraging things, and so one should also avoid the company of the sadhu who says those discouraging things. And so might speak encouragingly, even if the sadhu might speak encouragingly at times, but even in that also remains egotistic and emphasizes own knowledge and efforts, does not acknowledge the strength of God. And another sadhu you should avoid is one who is very lazy, sleeps too much, and says, "I'll do it later. What is the hurry?" when told to observe these niyams. And so also avoiding a sadhu who talks out of vanity, describes his own bhakti. So we have egotistical. So themes here include egotistical, self-centered, emphasizing on efforts, questioning whether certain niyams can be followed, whether the vow of knowledge can actually be attained and realized, and believing themselves to be the body. Those are the qualities of such a satsangi paramhans sadhu who you want to avoid. Now, who do you want to keep the company of? One, you want to keep the company of one who criticizes or reprimands oneself, constant vigilance and awareness of the indriyas, and does not cease to denounce that swabhav until it is overcome. He says that we are fulfilled in this very life, and the force of lust, anger, and all these different vicious natures can easily be overcome, and they are trivial and they are very, very easy to overcome. One should not what should one not do even if God is pleased? One should not follow an order that seems full of adharma in the same way that Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna to cut off Ashwatthama's head. Arjuna did not follow because even though it was God's command, it was full of adharma. And so because it was full of adharma, Arjuna did not follow that command. So even though it may be God's command, even though God may be pleased, do not follow instructions that transgress the prescribed niyams and that allows one to fall out of their dharma. So even if God is pleased, let him be displeased. And so we also want to suppress these vicious thoughts during meditation. When these vicious thoughts do arise, because they could arise during meditation, you want to stop that meditation. You want to strongly chant this mantra, and then you also want to pray. And then which virtue do you want to renounce and which fault to imbibe? You want to imbibe a fault behaving on the same level as others, even though it might maybe a drawback, and renouncing a great virtue if observing it makes another sadhu feel inferior. Then yeah, then you can renounce the virtue. Right? Then you can renounce the virtue. And to imbibe a fault if you behave in the same level as others, even though it may be a drawback. And the one flaw that contains all of the flaws is identifying oneself as the body. One virtue, all of the virtues is auto-realization. And all of this is in Loya 6, purifying the company. Because we talk about what company you should avoid, we talk about what company you should keep, we talk about what to do even if you have attained the company, and what not to do even if you have attained that company. And if you have attained that company, you should eradicate the faults. And we talked about all of the flaws, the one flaw that contains all of the flaws, identifying oneself as a body, and the one virtue containing all the virtual ultimate realization. Also talk about in the same way we talk about which sadhus to avoid, we also talk about which shastras to study and which ones to avoid as well. Loya 12 is about the 6 levels of faith, Sarvikap, Nirvikap faith, the lowest, intermediate, highest. And this is entirely about the representation of the amount of human emotions and swabhavs that God may exhibit compared to that of humans. So the lowest level is if he exhibits lust, anger, greed, egotism to the same extent. But if he displays more of these attributes, then faith is absolutely shattered. Highest is never doubt any action of God, no matter what happens, no matter whatever he does. Nirkam faith, the highest level, is countless millions of Brahmans, each encircled by 8 cosmic coverings, appear like mere atoms before Akshar. And this lowest faith can develop into the highest if the listener possesses extreme Shraddha. And one will fall from satsang if one who believes oneself to be the body. Without section of four types of eminent spiritual people. We have the geothermal fire, the Vadavana fire. We have the lightning was not extinguished by even by rainwater, but the torch and the small flame are extinguished by the wind in the form of cliches. One should, for thou 5, one should not perceive mind God. So we have of doing service of God and doing similar service of God and God's Son. And in the same way that you do this service of God, you should always do this same service with the same amount of affection and conviction uh, uh, of God's ideal. Something Varta 11 is affection for the Sattva, which is the only means to self-realization, understanding glory, and the destruction of the jiva is when you harm one of these 4: God, devotee of God, Brahman, one who is meek. If you harm anyone else, only the body is destroyed, but the jiva is not destroyed. But if you harm one of these 4, then the jiva is also destroyed. Kadara 3:2, attainment of all Purusha is when you have attained this manifest form of God, and when you have firm conviction in the manifest form of God, and when you have attained the company of Sant. That is highest state of enlightenment or liberation. Developing conviction in the Guruism as one form of God in the same way they have conviction in the non-manifest devas. Attain all the Purusharths. Attain all the Purusharths. Iron nail is want to remain firmly affixed and deeply, deeply, incredibly deeply attached to God in the same way that iron nail is firmly attached, firmly affixed to the iron surface, want to be firmly affixed to God in His Son. Remaining eternally happy, you can become and remain eternally happy if you have firm vairagya, extremely firm, so that are control over indriyas, intense love, close friendship. But even if you are in that God's company, if you do not have control over the indriyas, by vairagya and swadharma, then even if you are in that company, you have not get control over indriyas, do not experience happiness anywhere, only experience extreme misery. And the greatest obstacle in this happy pursuit of happiness is when a devotee does not realize their own drawbacks, becomes indifferent and aloof towards the bhakti of God and God. 3.9, in the same way, a king's guards do not allow thieves or robbers to come near the king. They have awareness. They are aware of all of the different thieves that may try to enter and fight with the king. But in the same way, in that gateway, the devotee of God does not allow worldly objects to enter, infiltrate that form of God in their heart. And if that worldly object forcefully tries to enter, they immediately destroy that object. And how do they perform bodily activities? Well, it's like a woman drawing water. It's like a man on a horseback. He's aware of the feet in stirrup. He's aware of the reins in hand. It's also mindful of trees, ditches, and stones along the path. Woman drawing water, feet is on the edge of the wall, cautious of falling, yet he is fixed on drawing the water. So you have immense great awareness in the actions that they are doing. We will stop there.